And the problem was greatest among black men. They were the ones who were least likely to be aware of their high blood pressure, least likely to be in contact with the healthcare system. So we wanted not only to understand what were some of the social and economic and maybe psychological factors that were putting the black population in particular at such high risk, but we also wanted to intervene, to design programs that would make a difference in terms of their long-term health. We didn't have a lot of good ideas about what was going on with black men. What were they thinking about? What was their own conception of their problems with high blood pressure and how they thought about the healthcare system and so on? So I thought, well, hey, maybe this is something that I could help out with from day one. I could interview some black men, just sort of collect some oral histories and get some ideas, that would inform the work that we were going to do. And so I would use the interview information as a way of sort of mapping the social and kind of the psychological landscape that we were going to explore. So I drove out to meet with Mr. John Martin, and he was waiting for me in his backyard. It was the middle of July, very hot, muggy day. It took about an hour to drive from Chapel Hill out to where he lived in a rural area. He began to talk. He began to talk about his life story, how he was born into deep poverty. His parents were sharecroppers. His father sharecropper all of his life. He lost his mother when he was like 12 years of age. And he saw that his father could never get out of debt. Everything that he earned sort of turned over immediately to pay off what he owed the man who owned the land that he farmed. And he decided that that was not the life that he was going to have. In 1 year, not 40 years, 1 year. Of course, that was not at all realistic. But he worked night and day, he and his wife did. 16, 17, 18 hours a day, 6 days a week. He said, I think that's the reason why my legs are all out of whack. I pushed myself too hard in the fields. And around that time, his wife came to the door and she said, John Henry, it's time for lunch. I looked at him and I said, your name is John Henry? He said, yeah, John Henry Martin. And I thought, holy cow, his name is John Henry Martin. Here's John Henry Martin, who went up against the machine, the sharecropping machine of the Jim Crow South. He beat the machine, but he paid a price. Because not only did he have a debilitating case of osteoarthritis, hence the cane resting on his lap, but he had high blood pressure, which is the reason why I went to see him in the first place. And so as I reflected on his life story, then and in subsequent weeks and months following my encounter with him, I realized that not only did John Henry Martin's life story echo the legend of John Henry, the steel driving man, but it echoed the life experiences of working class Black people in America, and particularly in the South. And his story was a story of my parents. It was a story of my aunts and uncles. It was a story of my grandparents. It was a story of so many Black people whom I knew growing up as a boy in the rural South, in the segregated South. But it was not connected to any scientific literature at that point. It was connected to African American history, and it was a wonderful story. So when I came upon the scientific literature about cardiovascular reactivity to stressors and the sustained elevation of heart rate and blood pressure, when people believe that they can solve a problem if they work hard at it, stay focused, that gave me a scientific underpinning for the John Henryism hypothesis. Having a very strong predisposition to engage in high effort coping to overcome difficult life problems, that's what sets this process of high blood pressure or hypertension in place. That's what gets it going fairly early in life for African Americans. And because it is a chronic set of circumstances and there's so much uncertainty involved, it's so stressful, it's endemic, that you see the emergence of elevated blood pressure among Black Americans, particularly working class Black Americans, 10 to 15 years before you see the problem emerge among whites, because of the circumstances into which they are born. John Henryism is a response to those forces as well, to overcome those sort of structural conditions that are historically rooted in anti-Black discrimination. So yes, it's about economics, about the pursuit of the American dream in economic terms, but it's also about the pursuit of first-class citizenship. We need to scale up these interventions in order to bring this epidemic of cardiometabolic diseases under control. You're going to lose a lot of people because they're going to be experiencing heart attacks and strokes a lot earlier in life than they have any reason to do so. And these are going to be some of the best people in the country, some of the best people in African American communities.